Okay, excellent. Welcome to our quick demo of Moxie's agreements. For a quick translation for anyone who doesn't use Moxie, that will house your proposals and contracts and quotes. And we personally think that it can also be really useful as your whole onboarding process. So Austin is going to go over that and talk quickly about kind of how Moxie's agreements work and save your life and your scope creep from happening.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle. So yeah, I know a lot of folks might have been in the agreements and pretty familiar with it, but I'll just do a quick overview of how they work and all of the different features attached to them. So yeah, let me share my screen. There we go. Can you all see that? Awesome. This is the test I was doing. So yeah, the agreements in Moxie. So where you're going to find those is on the left-hand side under agreements. And as you have probably seen with the new UI, we have everything nested underneath these dropdowns. And so under agreements is where you're going to find your agreement list and your agreement templates. So that's where those live. So just kind of like an overview of agreements. We have a couple different options when it comes to those. So I'll start off here in this agreement list and kind of go through the different options for agreements. And so under the term agreement, we have proposals, contracts, and quotes. Those are, we kind of just use one term for that, agreements. And they all kind of work similar, and they have similar like features and elements you can add to them, but you're able to create like separate quotes, separate contracts, and have those separate. And then I'll also show here in a minute how you can add everything in one document for your onboarding process. But I'll go ahead and just start with contracts. And so here in contracts, we have a basic like contract that already built out, and these are fully customizable. And so here in the agreement builder, you'll see these different elements on the left. You can add pages, you can add different elements to the contract, styling, add assigners, and also some different settings. But as far as the contract goes, you'll notice that, like I mentioned, everything's already filled out. We just have like a basic contract template that was written by an attorney. And this is just kind of like a basic contract for freelancers in the US, but it is customizable, so you're able to change that as well to fit your needs. But we do have a few options over here. If you're using this basic contract, you can take out all the legal terms if you want, but these default terms, there's a few tokens that we have inside of the contract that can update automatically. So like cancellation notice, a right to display working portfolio. You can also grant license for frameworks. You can add that in there. And you can also add like the Stripe processing fee to the client and update some basic business information. And then the way we have a lot of our elements in the agreement, it's basically like a big text editor. And so you can convert the agreements to a text editor and be able to edit everything yourself. You can change some of the styling. You can click on the source code to do some farther styling there as well. So that's contracts. And then we have some other kind of basic templates as well under agreements, and those are going to be quotes and proposals. So I'll just show you quotes really quick. And this is like the standard quote that we just have like as a template. And so you can see that we have some tokens already built into some of those templates. And I'll get into it a little bit more when I look at the proposals, but a lot of these tokens will update based off of like your service that you have added and the just kind of depending on what you have added in the services. So before I jump into all of like the elements of the agreement, I'll just hop over to the templates really fast. And so as a lot of you are probably familiar, you can organize all your templates in folders. And so if you wanted to organize like contracts, if you're using them separately, you can organize those. And then you can also save different contracts. That's the old one, so ignore that. So in the proposals, and you can also start from like a complete blank page, but we have some of those templates available for you if you don't want to start from scratch. But this is what the basic sample proposal looks like. We kind of have like a starting point for you, and those are all text editors, and you can delete the pages. You can. I'll come back to the templates. Just remind me at the end after I'm finished with this. So the way these are going to work, actually, before I jump into the services, some different options that we have for the agreement are you can pretty much add most of your onboarding process on the agreement for discovery calls, collecting information from a form, and you can also add a Stripe payment block as well. And so I would say majority of the people that I see using Moxie will include their contract and services all in one document. And so that way they already have the legal terms, they have the overview of the project, the overview of the services that different packages. So the majority of the time I see them just putting it in one document. And as far as some of the elements, as you can see, like it's pretty customizable for the different elements you can drag and drop. You can add images, your business logo, and this text editor, you can drag and drop things into that. You can format text. You can create containers. And so there's a lot of different ways I've seen people style it by either putting like an image on one side and with text on the other. And so a lot of different ways you can edit that. And as far as the creating the projects, we actually do have some automation built into agreements. And if you click the settings in the agreements, you have automatic create projects and invoices. And you can also review an invoice before sending. And so what this toggle does, the automatically create projects and invoices, that will create the project based off of the package that you have on the agreement. And so there's a few different ways to do that. You can have a client select one package, or you can have them be able to select multiple packages. And you can add, I'll get into line items here in a second, but you can add additional line items, some optional add-ons to the package as well. And the package is going to be based off of, as far as the pricing, if you go over these packages and click this little gear, that's going to bring up the settings for the package. So you can, from there, this is basically like the project. And so this is going to be all of the same project settings. So you can select your fee type, hourly, you can set up recurring payments, or if you have per item, you can set that up. And I'll show you really quick. when you add a package, there are you can add from a template. And so I'm going to click out of the agreements really fast. If you go to project management, you'll also see that there's project templates there. And so you can go ahead and create all of your, if you have multiple packages that you use over again, you can create those as templates, and then you can also add all those tasks. And that hasn't changed much recently, so that's pretty much the same. One new add-on that's pretty recent is you can select if tasks are recurring or not, and so you can set that in the template. So you can set this task as a recurring task, and then whenever you use this project template, then you can set some tasks as recurring tasks. And so after you save your project template in the agreement, that's where you're going to see that pull in from a template. And so that's where all those live, is from that, the project's template. And then these line items, those are also going to be from the, sorry, I gotta remember where those where those live. Michelle, do you remember where those line items are? I can't remember.
They're under in accounting.
Accounting, that's right. Okay, thank you.
I did the same thing. I was looking it up while you were. I was like, where is that? I'm pretty sure I know where it is.
Yeah. Thank you. So these products and services, a lot of times those are used for additional add-ons to the project, or if you're billing by per item. And so if you have multiple items that might be different prices, but they fall under one project, you can use the products and services. I can actually go ahead and show how you add things to folders here. Is the way it works now is when you create a new service, you can click this little folder icon, and then you can just click it. You don't have to you can just click out of it. It will save automatically. And then you can change between the folders from within the settings here. So once that saves, you'll see that I have this in the folder. And if you click the product and service and then come up here to click the folder, you can change which one it lives in. And the way to delete those is if you remove all of the, we don't have a delete button on it right now, but if you move everything to a different folder, it will automatically delete there. So that's, once you move everything out of that folder, then it will remove, and then you can add a new folder from there. So once you add products and services, going back to the proposal, you can add those to your package here as line items. And so you'll see that this new product that I added here, I can add that. And when the project's created, you'll see that these line items are added as tasks. And one thing that I'll see that people do sometimes is they will leave their package as 0 here and then add line items. But if you're using a fixed priced fee type, you'll want to add an amount inside the package. So that way, if you're doing a deposit up front, the amount is going to be more accurate because you're setting an amount inside the package here. So that's something I've seen people do is they'll add like their full product as the line item. But if you're having like a $2,500 project, you want to add it here majority of the time. So a few other things that are kind of important to show for your onboarding process, like I had mentioned, you can add a Stripe payment block and a payment plan inside your agreement. And so if you're taking a deposit, you can select the payment plan, and then you can add different payment events, however many you need, and edit those. And there's a few different options for the payment plan. You can, if you're taking like a deposit on the agreement, you can set this first payment as upon signature. And then if you have, I don't have Stripe connected on this account, but if you have it Stripe connected, you can actually take that payment on the agreement. And that way you don't have to send a separate invoice for that. And then the discovery call, you can embed one of your meeting schedulers in there if you want to take your meeting and just have it scheduled on the agreement. And I also mentioned you can drag in forms here. So I'm just going to add this below the meeting scheduler. You can add a form and collect some information. So there's one feature inside the forms that we don't have in other areas that we're using forms. We have this merge client data. So when this toggle is toggled on, you can map any of these fields and update the client record. And so that way you can, if you wanted to update some of information that you may have collected on your first form, you can update that from the agreement. But this merge client data, that just lives inside of the agreement when the form is added to the agreement.
That's very cool. I didn't know about that. I learned something.
Yeah, it's pretty handy, especially if you like have a form that you collect before the agreement, you can update information that way. So let's see, make sure I didn't forget anything. When you're sending an agreement, you always have to have at least one signature. And so even if you're using the accept button, you don't have to use like the signature block, but you do need to assign a signer for the client. And I don't think I have a contact for this sample client yet. But that is, you can use an accept button or a signature there.
Did you want to show more things on? Actually, will you show the far left nav, like kind of all the pieces that live over there?
Oh, yeah. So the first one is going to be pages. And when you share your agreement, and so one common question that we have is, can you preview the agreement before you send it to the client? And the answer to that is we don't have like a preview option. You just need to finalize your agreement and then view the client facing link to see it. But when you are viewing the client facing link, you'll see that there are, on the left-hand side, there's the different pages. And so you can organize those by like the topic of the page there. And so if you click in here, you can click the edit button and then edit the payment there. Then you can delete full pages if you need to. You can move these around and add more pages as well. Then the elements. So there's two ways to add an element to the agreement. First way is just dragging and dropping. Or if you click this little plus sign, if you like hover over the agreement, you'll see this plus sign, and you can also add elements that way. The styling, you have a few different options. You can set the page to responsive, A4 letter or US letter. You can change the fonts to the different headings. You can change the font color as well there. Page shadow. So those are some of the options that you have there. You can change the page color.
So blue.
Yeah. If you want to just drive your clients crazy, you can do weird colors like that. And then your signers, this is where you'll add your signers. So if you're using like an accept block, you can add a signer. And I'll go ahead and add this sample client.
We need to get you a fake name like Jeff uses, J Jeff.
Oh yeah, JJ.
You could be Austin with an E, and you could be you could be Austin tomorrow.
Ooh,
Just throwing
that
that
is
out
a
there.
good option.
Sure, you never heard that before.
I have never heard that. No, I haven't. So the signatures, if you're using like an accept block, I need to look at that book. I'm just going to refresh my browser really fast. So I'll just make sure I added this correctly. Cool. Oh, that is, I already had it added. So what I was doing there, I'm just going to remove the signature block and say I want to have just an accept button. I can hit that add to. So you'll go to, if you're just using this accept button, you'll go to signers, and then you'll see that my contact is already there, but you want to make sure that there's at least a signer, even if you're using the accept block. So that's required to finalize the agreement. Yeah, I think, Michelle, did you have anything I needed to add, either from questions, or are we ready to move into the Q&A?
Do you want to just show like how you could take this agreement and make it a template?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you have an agreement and you just made it with a client, you can actually also make it a template. And so if you click the three dots, so you got to be in the list view. So if you click the three dots here, you can actually save this as a template. And then you'll see that a template was made from that agreement. And so then you can use it over and over again.
And then while you're in here, Patricia had asked, how can I add new folders to hold agreement templates?
Oh yeah, I had mentioned that earlier, but it's going to be the same as the products and services. Is you'll click inside the agreement, and then you'll click this little folder at the top right corner. And then you can add new folders. And you can click enter or click out of it. It will save automatically. And then to change the folder, you just go inside the template, click the folder, and then you can change it to whatever folder you need there.
And then while you're in there, is it possible to have the client sign the agreement on the first page and pay, then the second page have a form or meeting scheduler before they close it?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter, like the forms themselves are not in order, so it's not like they signed it, they're done. They'll have to complete everything on the page regardless of like the order that things are in. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Alan asked about when you're taking payments in an agreement, will the system generate an actual invoice on the back end so it's part of your regular accounting and could be looked up later like any manually generated invoice?
Yeah. Yeah, when you get a payment on the agreement, since I don't have Stripe connected to this account, I can't show you, but you'll see that the payment was processed, and then there'll be like a little invoice number that you can click to open up the invoice.
And then that also just shows under your accounting. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
What other questions are there around invoices? Alan, I think, did you raise your hand? You can feel free. I still am recording the meeting, but feel free to jump on if you've got a question. You can feel free to ask it. I'm sure lots of people have the question if you do as well. So you can drop it in Q&A or the chat, or feel free to pop on and just ask it with your real voice if you would like.
While I'm waiting, I'm gonna show and what it looks like once a payment is processed. And so here in this account, I see that I had a payment, and then there's like the invoice number will show here, and I can click that to view the invoice. That did not open up the invoice, but I can show you here. I have a lot of test invoices, so it goes back.
That's like every time I'm in my account with like all my projects, I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. This won't take this long in your account because I am a hoarder. I just have all these like test recurring projects.
So this payment here, invoice 1478, that was created from the agreement. And so you'll see that I think I had a payment plan there. So you'll see that the 33% was made on the agreement, and it created a payment plan. So at the completion of the project, I can go over to my payment plans and send that final invoice.
Awesome. Any other questions on agreements? We've got about 15 more minutes left scheduled. So feel free to ask any questions that you have, and we'll make sure we answer them for you.
While we're waiting for a question, and feel free to interrupt me, Michelle, if you see anything come up. But one common thing I'll see is recurring payments. And let me just go over to this other account. So setup I see pretty often is I'm just going to remove this discovery call. So instead of using the payment plan, I'm just going to show you a basic payment.
And then Anil has a question.
Okay. So one thing that you can do is if you go over to the elements and add a text editor, you can actually show what the first amount is going to be. And so we have tokens. And so some of those options are like upfront total and one-time total. And so let's just say I want the client to see what they're going to be paying. Once the client selects the package, you'll see that this token updated. So that's how you can kind of be sure that the client is seeing how much they're going to be paying when they sign the agreement, is using those tokens.
That brought up a question for me. I just got in a demo yesterday, so I'll ask it in a second. Anil said, if a payment that's on the agreement is not used, will it prevent the agreement from being fully executed? You can let me know if you want to add anything to that, Anil.
So the agreement, if the payment doesn't go through, the agreement's not going to finalize. And so you should see that before the client even if they get like a rejected card, they won't even be able to complete the agreement until that happens. And there have been a few times where there's been some bugs where they're able to complete the agreement without paying, but those have been, I believe all of those have been addressed. And so usually if those come up, then we'll just address those and fix the bug as they happen. But as of recent, I believe that anything like that has been fixed. And so they shouldn't even be able to complete the agreement without an actual card or bank account.
Patricia said that her client had that happen. I mean, I think, feel free to correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly. A client filled out an agreement but didn't want to pay by card. She was able to accept and hit finish. And then she said the client thought that she was done, but she wasn't because the card payment was a must. So, but it looks like the button wasn't grayed out. So she was able to hit finish without paying.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that. Off the top of my head, I just can't remember when it was fixed or when that was addressed. But I do know a couple of those have come up.
Okay. So Patricia, if you want to chat with us, if that just happened today, and we can take a look at it.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean Austin will take a look at it.
Yeah, I can go in and take a look.
Just for like total transparency, it will probably not be me looking at it. It will be Austin or someone else on our team. Okay, so my question is, if you have your service package and you want to do a recurring invoice, is there a way within the agreement to get your first payment on the agreement?
Yes. So I'm just going to remove one of these packages. Add-ons. I don't want them. So say I want to do a monthly, just keep it at 500 monthly. When you have it set up for like a recurring like package, the first payment for the first month is going to be paid on the actual agreement. So I'm just going to use current total. So when I have automatically create projects and invoices selected in the settings tab, what's going to happen after the client signs this is a recurring invoice and a recurring project is going to be created. And today's the October 3rd. So the next payment is going to be November 3rd or whatever, or November 2nd, whatever date that is. So it's going to take that first month payment since we are paying advanced, and it will create that the recurring project and the recurring invoice. And nice. If you do have a situation where you don't want to pay for the first month right away, you can do arrears timing, and then you would just not have the Stripe payment. So that way, if the project starts at a different time, you can select a start date and then set it to arrears. But you just got to remember to go back into the project settings to be able to change that back if you wanted to change it back to advanced. But there are some kind of workarounds to have the project start later than the date of the signed agreement.
Another question on recurring payments. Does it save the client's card and charge it automatically? And if so, can they choose whether or not that happens?
We don't have an option now for them to choose. I believe that is on the roadmap. I don't know off the top of my head where it's at, if it's planned or if it's just something that needs more upvotes, but it is on the roadmap. But right now, that would just need to be discussed ahead of time to whether or not the client is going to be auto charged or not.
Laura asks, I have a project that requires the setup fee split into 2 payments of 50%. The next 10 months are a different recurring amount. Can the invoices be automatically created at the same time as the agreement is signed? So months 1 and 2 would be 1,000 each. Months 3 through 12 are 400 each.
Well, I think I remember this from the other day. I don't remember how exactly I solved that.
Probably a payment plan, right? Because then you would just say, here's the months laid out by, is that the best way to do different recurring amounts?
For the upfront fee, I don't remember what I did for that last time. I think there is a way to do that, so I might need to double check and follow up on that. So one thing that you can do is you can do an add-on. Oh, and this is somewhat new, I think. We do have a way to just add an ad hoc line item. You don't want to create full new product. So the way you can add a one-time setup fee is by adding the line item. And so then I could do like, let's do 200 and have that be the setup fee on the first payment. So then we go to the tokens, you can change that back to upfront total. And you'll see that the upfront total is going to be 700. So they'll pay the payment fee, and then after the second month kicks in, the recurring amount is just going to be 500. But to split that up, I think you would have to just do it manually, but I'll double check on that after this call.
We've got about 5 minutes left. If you have any burning questions, feel free to drop them either in chat or in the Q&A. I'll talk quickly about you can subscribe. So we'll do a quick demo like this and then Q&A every Thursday at this time. You can either subscribe to the Google Calendar. I'll drop the link in here to subscribe to the calendar. And then you can kind of join or not join as needed. And then we'll make sure we post it in the Facebook group as well for you to join. But we would love to see you back here any Thursday that you have questions. You can always ask questions about whatever our demo is about, and also feel free to bring questions about anything that you have. And if you have questions, obviously that are not on a Thursday, you can always use the question mark in the lower right there. And our team is happy to help. We really value, we know like how frustrating it is when you're trying to like get something done and you're like, I'm waiting for help and nobody's here for like days and days and days. We know that can be like really frustrating. So we want to make sure that if you're working in your Moxie account, you've got somebody right there to answer you. So we're there just about a full 24/7 or 24/5. Not quite 24/7. On the weekends, we're a bit slower, but quickly, will you answer Sophia's question? Is it possible to add a template to an existing project? So you have the project built already, Sophia, and you want to pull in a template that you've already created?
So, and Sophia, you're talking about like just the actual project, not the agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you can pull in tasks. So if you go into a project, I actually don't remember where Jeff moved that to. You can pull in, oh, here it is. So if you go to the task view, you can pull in your tasks from a template. So that would be the only thing that you can like quote unquote merge into the agreements is the tasks. So that is the way. But the actual like setup fees, that we don't pull that in, we just pull in the task from the template. So you would need to change the fee type manually. Oh, and one other thing that I just remembered that happened this morning, I think. Is that, and Jeff posted this in the Facebook group, so most of you probably already saw it. But we do have a feature that now allows you to move entire projects between clients. And so if you go to this project, I think it's the project list view. I actually haven't looked at it yet, so I am learning in actual time. So let me go to my other window. Oh yeah, so from the list view, if you click the three dots, you can transfer this project to another client. So that is brand new as of today.
Woo!
So great.
I love it. Like, I feel like, oh, will it duplicate to another client or directly transfer it?
Directly transfer it.
That's like personally very handy for me. I just had like a client, I need to like change them to their project to a different client. So I'm jazzed for that, just for myself.
Yeah, and I feel like that question comes up pretty often. So yeah, we have that feature now.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining. We'll be back at office hours next week. Maybe I'll put a poll in our Facebook group to see what the next big theme would be. I have an idea, but I'll just maybe crowdsource it. So we'll see you next Thursday. We'll record it. We'll make sure we get it posted for you. And we will see you hopefully next week.
Yep.
Thanks, Austin.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in chat.